This is the story of Pallet Jack. You can read along with me in your book. Turn the page when you hear the forklift backing up like this. Let's begin.
Johnny Appleseed planted 1,000,000 trees. Paul Bunyan, he chopped down every one. Now Paul Bunyan's a hero to the lumberjacks. Us warehouse workers, we've got a hero named Pallet Jack. Pallet Jack, oh Pallet Jack, never once did he lift with his back. Kept it so straight and bent at the knees, so should you too, please.
Well, old Jack never figured he'd be working in a warehouse one day. After all, just a few years back, he had graduated with a BA. Jack found out that, well, work was a bit hard to find. There just aren't that many ads for philosophers in the classifieds. One day, Jack decided he'd sign up with one of them temporary services. He figured he could file papers or something. I mean, he was a college graduate.
He was dressed in his Sunday best, but nevertheless.
They took one look at old Jack and filed him as light industrial with the rest.
Pallet Jack, oh Pallet Jack, never once did he lift with his back. Kept it so straight and bent at the knees, so should you too, please. So should you too, please.
Okay, Jack, we've got the job for you, down at the Fit-Right plant on the evening crew. Do you think that you'll be able to start tonight?
Sure, Jack quickly replied.
Great. I'll call Ned and tell him that you'll be there right at 11.
Jack caught the bus back home to the apartment where he lived alone. He took a nap, had a bite to eat, changed his clothes, and boiled coffee. He poured it into his thermos and was out the door. 2 buses later, he arrived at 10:54.
Howdy, my name is Jack, and I'm looking for Ned.
Well, looks like you found him. Let's get started.
Ned explained to Jack what he was supposed to do.
Just start moving these boxes and I'll check back in an hour or 2.
Jack grabbed a 2-wheeler and started hauling, 3 boxes at a time, never pausing. Ned stumbled back to his office, locked the door, and curled up in a ball right on the floor. Meanwhile, Jack kept right on working. He never even contemplated stopping. He didn't let boredom enter his mind or even look at his watch to check the time. You're probably wondering how he could manage such a boring task and in total isolation.
I just think of stuff and make up games to make the job bearable and keep me from going insane.
Jack stacked the boxes higher and higher, imagining that they were full of dynamite and the warehouse was on fire. With 4 or 5 boxes he would run, there was no denying he was having fun. With a snore, a snort, and a cough, Ned woke up having slept it off.
I feel better. I feel good. I better go check on the new recruit.
As Ned approached where Jack was at, he stopped dead in his tracks. His jaw dropped open in shock and awe.
Why, Jack, you finished the whole job.
Yep. What should I do now in the one last remaining hour?
Still reeling from the surprise, Ned scratched his head and rubbed his eyes.
That's just it. There is no more. That job should have lasted 3 weeks or 4.
With nary another word given, he sent Jack home at 7:15.
Hello, Workhorse Temps. This is Janet.
Hello. I went to Fit-Right for the job, and now I'm finished.
Oh, hi, Jack. I already heard. I'm sorry to say, but today there's no work. Check in periodically, and I'll call too, and we'll find something real soon.
Jack called in every day, but Janet never had anything different to say. Eventually, there was an opening down at Quality Inc. doing some loading. Jack had learned his lesson well.
This time I'm going to pace myself. No more running and no more games. I'm going to keep this job for more than 1 day.
Jack started work at 8. At 10, he took a 15-minute break. He was trying to work so slowly, getting to lunch took an eternity. Another century slowly passed, and he took another break, his last. At 5 o'clock, the whistle blew. He punched out and talked with the foreman, Lou.
Well, you made it through your first day. See you tomorrow, right at 8.
Yeah, see ya.
Day after day, Jack reported to work. Day after day, hating it worse. Towards the end of week number 4, there was no way he could take any more. He pretended he was being chased by police and finished the job that very week. Working fast meant unemployment, and working slow was sheer torment. So Jack put a new plan into effect that would give him job security but not bore him to death. Jack showed up at Wesco a little early with a backpack full of books and a flask of whiskey. He searched around and finally found a great secluded place, hid his things there, and then reported to Snake.
Move these pallets into the containers, then write the lot numbers in this ledger. If you have a question, don't be afraid to ask. I'll be up front of my desk.
Jack worked hard for a little bit, then went to the spot where his backpack was hid. He fashioned a cushion out of bubble wrap, took a swig of whiskey, and leaned on back. He read from Descartes, then Wittgenstein, jotting down a note from time to time. He got up a full 2 hours later and went to Snake's office, carrying the ledger.
Do you have time to check this, please? I just want to be sure I'm doing it correctly.
Snake checked the numbers, pallets, and containers.
Yep, everything seems to be in order. If you're having more doubts about anything, feel free to find me again.
Jack continued this routine until at last, to him it seemed, he'd completed his initiation and it was time to find a more permanent position. Jack found a job in the paper down at the Hanson's distribution center. He went to Human Resources and filled out some forms and was hired on the spot that very morning. It was a job like the others, moving boxes from one place to another. He worked for a few minutes, about 15, and then went to the spot where he had hidden his things. He returned to work just in time to be seen by the supervisor as he passed by.
Wow, you really have caught on. It's your first day and look what you've done. If you keep on working like this, soon we'll be training you on the forklift.
Jack said reluctantly,
Thanks for the compliment, Mr. Hennessy, but I can't drive a car. I don't have a license. To tell you the truth, I'm a bit frightened. I'm quite fast with a pallet jack, so I think I'll just stick with that.
everything was running smoothly until one day while reading Nietzsche, Jack drifted off and took a snooze and was discovered by O'Toole. O'Toole went and told Hennessy.
That Jack is nothing but lazy.
O'Toole and Hennessy stepped out of the office, and there was Jack stacking boxes.
I saw you, Jack. You were sleeping with a book on your chest that you had been reading.
Is it true what O'Toole says? On the job you slept and you read?
Mr. Hennessy, yes, I'm guilty. I only work a fraction of my shift to avoid promotion to the forklift.
Jack pretty much knew he was fired, but at least they couldn't call him a liar. He stood waiting patiently as O'Toole whispered to Hennessy,
This mistake should be his last.
Well, I believe he deserves another chance. Jack, you've always worked up to your quota and never caused me the least bit of trouble. So, as punishment for what you've done, starting now, you're on probation. O'Toole here will keep an eye on you and tell me about anything wrong you do.
Let there be no mistake. I'll see every move that you make.
Jack wasn't bothered by the threat. He was just worried the job would end. After all, working at top speed, he'd be out of work in a couple of weeks. As he saw it, there wasn't much he could do but work steadily under the watchful eye of O'Toole. Jack didn't even attempt to hold back. You remember what happened when he tried to do that. Sure enough, by the end of the day, he had done as much as in the whole month of May. O'Toole was quite disappointed to see how much Jack had accomplished. On the other hand, Hennessy couldn't have been any more pleased.
I can't believe how much work you've done. It's obvious that you're due a promotion.
Just then, O'Toole remembered Jack's fear, leaned forward and whispered in Hennessy's ear.
Indeed, what a fine worker. Imagine what he'll accomplish as a forklift driver.
Ah, yes, you are right. Jack, it's time for you to drive.
No, thanks. Really, I prefer a pallet jack to do my work. Today, I think that you've seen I can do the work of any machine.
What? Would you like to bet? Or are you also afraid of that? I say we race one day for a month's worth of pay.
Jack wasn't the betting kind, but he thought it over in his mind.
There's really no way I will lose, and I could use the cash to buy some books. It sounds fine to me, as long as you don't mind, Mr. Hennessy.
Hey, I don't care. It's your pay. Why don't you two race on Thursday? A new shipment will have just come in.
Across his face crept a sly grin. To think of all the work they would do, this was truly a dream come true. Well, all the arrangements were made, and soon it was Thursday. Boxes on pallets were stacked, and the pallets divided equally in half.
Jack, these are for you to move. And these are yours, O'Toole. Take them from this end to the other. Ready?
Sure.
Yeah, whenever.
Go!
Jack hauled as quick as a flash, the pallets with his pallet jack. He thought up some games and sang some songs, and sure enough, before too long, he had moved about half the pile, and O'Toole on his forklift was behind by a mile. O'Toole saw what was happening and decided to start double stacking. Signs everywhere warned against it, but that didn't bother him one bit. Even at top speed and double stacked, he was having a hard time catching Jack. Meanwhile, Jack worked without worry. He didn't even seem to be in a hurry. 4 pallets, 3 pallets, 2 pallets, now 1. Jack was close to being done.
He's down to 1 and I still have 3. I've got to do something or he'll beat me.
O'Toole was so desperate to win, he raised the number of pallets again. Double stacking was bad enough, but triple stacking was testing his luck. With the tower of pallets so high, he gunned it as Jack was passing by. The stack began to shake and wobble, and then, of course, it toppled. Well, no one went home with that extra pay, and Jack suffered some crushed vertebrae. But there was something much worse that happened on that fateful day. You see, Pallet Jack and O'Toole had gotten so much done that Hennessy declared mandatory time off for everyone. This didn't affect our hero much. He was now on workers' comp. He laid around and would watch TV, but usually he'd just read.
I've got some good news and some bad.
The doctor had said to him,
You'll make a full recovery, but you'll never be able to do any heavy lifting again.
Jack knew exactly what to do. He applied and got into graduate school. Pallet Jack, oh Pallet Jack, never once did he live with his back. Kept it so straight and bent at the knees. So should you too, please. So should you too, please.